My problem is that journalists become lawyers and they disappear from the public space. They just go and sit in some law firm and then they just go to courtroom and they decide that they are not even journalists anymore.
Which is the message that hold on, Bernard. Right now we are too hungry. This is the message that has come for you, Bernard. Right now we are too hungry. Come hungry.
Every work you do, you can.
Let me finish the message for you.
If you do it well.
Let me give you a message.
Every work you do, you can do it well.
Let me read the message.
You read it.
Says Bernard. Right now we are too hungry. Come hungry to have passion for everything, to have passion for anything. We just want something to earn enough to be able to now think about just courses. Sorry to disappoint you.
Bernard, I want to add something about the well-paying part and the respect of the profession. I think some of the things we do as a practice is what leads to the lack of respect. And the well-paying,
responsible for that.
Yes, and the fact that it doesn't pay well is part. I think there was an article that came out a year or two ago. I saw that claimed that the average journalist in Ghana receives 1,000 cedis a month. That's very low.
Extremely
so
low.
That's not going to motivate you to work well. And that also affects their integrity. And I think the integrity is a big part. I think people don't trust journalists.
Yeah.
And can you blame them? Because there's a lot of journalists, when you hear them talk, they are not telling the truth.
Yeah.
And you know why they are not telling the truth. But you understand that if you are in the situation they're in, you can see why they can be compromised. And I think that it's never going to get better. Like you said,
we obviously need a better model for the business of journalism. All right. I think it's a social good. And therefore, there has to be some proper financing of it. Because we need journalists for a democracy to function well. Whether it's donor aid or government or whatever model, there are many models. So if the business of journalism is to survive, if the profession of journalism is to survive, the business must survive. All right. So some of it is not the doing of the journalists. All right. And people who are in managing media need to think more deeply about what to do with media, so it can be more viable. I agree with that. But I'm just saying that if social change is your objective, you will not. Maybe I see differently.
Let me come in here.
See, I understand everything you're saying, but I just don't think a lot of people in journalism care as much about social change as you think. That's what I think is
maybe I'm over optimistic.
Because then when you think about the people you mentioned earlier using journalism as a tool and seeking social change, these were affluent people most of the times.
Not necessarily.
Most of them were affluent people who were pushing for social good because of the exposure and the knowledge and the resources they've gained and how they
were
saw
privileged,
the pool.
but not necessarily affluent.
That is okay.
Maybe privileged to get education.
I can accept that. I can accept that. Mm-hmm. But Bernard, my point here is that, and I agree with you that the excellence is more important than the field of profession, and that an excellent journalist, an excellent carpenter is more useful to society than, a lousy doctor or lawyer and all of that. But I also want to make the point rather forcefully and humbly that a hungry journalist is a national security threat.
I agree.
I don't know how I will care about social good when I'm hungry, when my rent is up, when I have medical bills I'm unable to pay. I don't see how people will skip the Maslow's theory of needs and think about social good when their conditions are not in the best of shapes. We, as journalists, we go places, we see things, we see how our work helps people, how our work enriches people. And so, we have a role to play. Yes, we are the conscience of the people. Our job is a social good thing.
With you, but
I just want to make my point so that you can come in, because I know
you have to be careful.
I've heard you a lot on this, but we also need to also push the reality a bit. Bernard, if you go to the regions, for example, if you go out of Accra and you talk to journalists, those of us in Accra, we are even better off. If you go to the regions and you see how the conditions under which people are working and the situations, how much they earn, it's not a good thing. So if you want ethical journalists who have integrity, and again, you're saying that, okay, people move to do law and they don't want even to associate with the practice of journalism and all of that. But at the end of the day, social good.
Bro, I'm just saying that, this is what I'm just saying to add to what you're saying, that look, poor pay is not an excuse for being unethical.
That's true.
And I have to be careful, but that's the truth. Because you see,
You don't have to be careful.
There's no profession that does not have challenges in terms of remuneration, generally. Now, the other point is that there's no law that says you should be journalist alone.
True.
You can do other things to support yourself in addition, depending on how your employment conditions are.
Right.
People do writing, they MC programs, they do ghost things. There are so many things you can do, even do classes teaching as an addition. If you start using poor pay as an excuse for being unethical, somebody can use lack of money as an excuse for being an armed robber. It's the same thing.
No. It wasn't even about the ethics. Just to mention, it wasn't about the ethics. It was about the fact that people transition more to other professions.
No, that's true.
When they're
so
journalists. I can't making justification.
Yes, I can't force people to stay as
one,
journalists.
no.
True. So thank you for that correction.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
No,
because once you start talking about
no,
the push
no,
factors,
yeah.
you can leave the person and go and do whatever you want to do. That's fine. In fact, if you start losing passion for the job, don't do it.
True.
Because you become a threat. But when you say that a poor and hungry journalist is a national security threat, no, it's an unethical journalist who is a national security threat. So let me qualify it.
Okay.
A hungry anything should not be a national security threat. Is the unethical journalist who should be a national security threat, because hunger should not make you unethical.
Bernard, if people work hard and for months they have not been paid,
they should leave
and
their
they
job.
keep showing
They should
up,
go to a different job.
No, that we should also say that people should be paying
But teachers
people when
are
they
also
work.
not paid well. Nurses are also not paid
And
well.
that's why our education system is what
Yeah,
it
but-
is.
but- but no,
that's
you're
why when you
talking
go
about
to
the
the
power of
hospital,
the
the
job.
nurses behave the way they do.
But Caleb, you cannot.
Because we must also make sure that
Yes.
we must make sure,
Yes.
make the point very forcefully that a worker deserves his wage.
That's true, but Caleb,
And we must not keep people hungry for months.
if a teacher tells you,
Yes.
you go to private schools in urban Accra,
Yeah.
teachers are paid 800 cedis a month.
Yeah.
If the teacher tells you that because I am being paid 800 cedis a month, I would start collecting money from the students, or I'll start selling them my own handouts and force them to pay. That's unethical behavior.
True.
You can't justify that.
True.
If the work is not paying well, you change your employer, or I'm see there are labor laws that protect these things. But I'm saying that, you see, once you say you are something, if you say you are a teacher, there are some ethics you must abide by. So if you say you are a journalist,
Yes.
pay is important and pay is critical, but you have no
Excuse.
you
No
cannot
justification.
say that because of that. Do you understand?
I agree.
I understand that people who manage media have to make sure people are paid well, but if you choose to do a profession,
You must stay the course.
you cannot come and say that because I am unpaid well,
Yeah.
then I will do this, and then no, that's not right.
That's not proper.
Then go and do a different work.
Bernard, I agree. We are not even arguing. We are just making 2 points. One to employees, one to employers. Because I feel that over the period, there's this system also. People give excuses for doing shoddy job. That we must not countenance, which is the point you have made. But I'm also saying that on the balance of the scale, then let's also not put people in a position where they are vulnerable enough to be thinking about other ulterior or...
Caleb, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
You've been doing journalism for like 12 years.
Yes.
You do a lot of things which give you money outside journalism,
Bernard.
which are not competing necessarily with your journalism.
True.
You MC programs.
Yes.
You do influencer things.
Yes.
You even brand consult
Yes.
for people.
Yes.
Now that's resourcefulness and that's expanding your net, but you still do your journalism pretty well.
True.
You can say you have the big media house, but even in a small regional ecosystem, if you do your work with integrity, you get a respect. And you can also expand within those concentric circles of emceeing, communication. I'm just saying that
But
if you choose to do a certain job, once that's your profession, it has a cross it comes with.
But I also worked in an international media organization where the things you just described, once you are signing a contract, they are
do it.
listed there
You
as
cannot do
moonlighting.
them.
Good.
Yes.
And but you see, but that's our we are not international. Our context is different.
No, but
we
but
want
that's
a certain
them.
standard.
No.
But we want a certain
but a lot
standard.
of places will not allow you to do that.
So for example, if you go and moderate an economic conference and you get paid for it, what's wrong with that?
no, there's a difference. You look at the number of things you listed him doing in addition to his
Oh, he can
journalism
MC.
work.
He can MC. What else did you ask?
Brand
So I'm just saying,
Consulting.
so if he
Some
starts,
people do it, yeah.
if it starts paying off, the MC starts paying off, and he starts looking for more gigs.
Yeah, but you see, everything has a limit to it. So it's not every event you MC. What I'm saying is that even within your job, there are legitimate things you can do as additional things that are not competing with
But
your work.
it's
Okay,
very
hold
tough.
on.
Do you get
Just
it?
ask-
So I'm coming. I agree with what you're saying that there are certain things that cannot be allowed. Why do you think I haven't formed a company?
Why do you think I don't MC?
You don't like it?
No, but I've told you.
Yeah, but so is MC unethical?
No, I don't MC.
You don't like it?
No, but I've told you that me.
But you teach. You go to.
Yes,
if somebody asks you to come and teach or do a special,
what do I teach?
You teach what you know and what you like.
I teach media.
Yeah, but I did economics. So if I go and MC an economic conference, is that not additional to my job?
No, but if for me the teaching falls within what I do for a living.
But if you go and moderate a conference, that's not within what I do for a living.
Oh.
If I moderate a conference on they did 2 days ago, they did a conference.
No problem.
Oh wait, let me no. If you don't
that.
Let me explain it. They did a conference on downstream petroleum. I'm an economic journalist, and I went to moderate a conference on downstream sector issues. Is that not related to what I do?
It is.
Is that unethical?
No.
So what are you saying?
No, the point I'm making is, how many of those do you do in a week that does not impact what you do?
Well, that's the company I work for and my output. Because yesterday I came to do my morning show. I went to give a talk at some place from 10 to 12. I still came back to hold meetings in my office and did my TV show that ended at 10 p.m. I'm still here today.
Yes.
All right. So you can't come and tell me that my external. But the other point is that a lot of those external things you do is also part of your growth. Because if I only sit here,
which is true,
a lot of things I know about certain industries because I've gone to do programs there as a facilitator or moderator.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that, but I don't let it compete with my core job as a journalist. Do you understand? Now, if you can prove to an employer that emceeing that event adds to your knowledge, it's sometimes not even about money. If you go and sit in a conference,
it's about expanding knowledge.
Let's assume you go to and they say go and facilitate a segment of the education forum. Do you know the level of the contacts you will get, the knowledge you get when you're coming to do a story on education? You get them. So I'm saying that there are ethical, logical ways of expanding your scope without it compromising your job.
So Bernard, question.
So I'm coming, but at the core, I'm still a journalist.
True.
I'm not an influencer. I'm not an MC.
True.
Even today, people come and tell you, come and influence. I say I don't want to do. I'm not an influencer because in my field of work, your company may even come in as a matter of discussion, and I get compromised. So I'm very careful how I do those things. But at the core, it is going back to the center, which is journalism. So what I'm saying is that let's commit to doing what we have to do well. If you say you are going to do it well, it will open doors for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you need guidance as to what door is acceptable or not. There are certain opportunities I discuss with my boss. Can I do this? You say no. Somebody says come and be an influencer for his car brand. I say I can't do that. It's not because your company is not good. I cannot be an influencer for your car brand because the car industry is still something I'm analyzing. And it may come up one day that your company may not be even ethical. So I, as a journalist, cannot do that. Do you understand what I'm saying? And because I have a team that works with me, so the problem is that people take their core job for granted to say, because I'm not being paid well, I can do anything, including things which can compete with your original core job. So it's not a poverty or poor pay question, it's an ethics question. All right? If you have people who work with you who will make sure that they circumscribe your work to make sure that you keep the main thing, you can succeed in your profession.
But are we saying that journalism is a calling and not a profession? So that if anyone went to a profession, there is a laid down procedure for career progression. There is a certain, entitlements they're entitled to and all of that. Ours, no, it's a social good, so it's a calling.
I don't know. I've not said that.
I will say it's a calling and not a profession.
No.
So that, for example, if I came and did my work as an editor, I did that excellently for 10 years.
Yes.
After 10 years, I can comfortably afford a decent car, pay my children's fees, pay my rents, and after I'm done, I have decent retirement and go to bed.
What I'll say is that there are some professions that place more demand on you and pay less than other professions because of the social good. So if you're a teacher, there are teachers who are wealthy, but it's rare. If you are a nurse, there are nurses who may be wealthy, but it's rare because the job in its nature is sacrificial. Do you get it? Now, if you are an astrophysicist or an engineer, it may also be sacrificial, but because it's a technical skill with limited people doing it, you tend to be paid more, generally globally. Do you understand? So if you're a teacher, a journalist, or a nurse, you may not necessarily get as much money. Meanwhile, the demands of the job on you are much more.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the job. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you say, is it a calling or a profession? There are professions that don't pay that well because the entry barriers are low. So generally, pay is determined by scarcity. It's demand and supply. So if you are somebody who fixes the turbines in the aircraft, It's a technician job, but it's probably paid more than a doctor in Ghana because the people can do that work and not that many. Do you understand my point? And the entry barriers are also very high. Anybody can get up. I went to an event this week. They invited like 12 journalists. Like 30 people turned up that they were journalists. Half of them didn't even have a proper media house. But they said they were journalists because they were writing some blog or something. How do you regulate that? We are the same people who say we don't need licenses to be journalists. So you can't also say somebody cannot call himself a journalist. There's a guy who's been sending me photos of parts of Accra that are not going well. He's a citizen journalist. He may set up his own blog and become a journalist. Can you prevent him from doing that? No. But I can't get up and start doing medical. I can't get up and start treating people. Okay, so what he's doing is effective. He is taking pictures of like broken down rails, street lights, and sends it to me. He puts on his blog. He's a journalist. He's a citizen journalist. I can't be a citizen doctor. I can't get up and say, because when I can diagnose disease, I will be chased out of the profession. So some professions have found a way to keep certain people outside. I think the question for journalists is, we must ask ourselves, anybody who calls himself a journalist, what is the minimum they must have? What is the minimum they must know? What standard are we prepared to hold them to so that they will not soil our profession? We've not done that. Engineers have done this. Doctors have done it. To an extent, nurses have done it. We haven't. So we are not saying, why is this guy parading himself to be a journalist? Partly because journalism is a tool, it's a social good. Yeah. All right. So somebody can be a lawyer and still call himself a journalist because he's writing every week. And because there's no limit to knowledge. That's the nature of the profession. It's difficult to regulate it. You get it? What we are, the leading lights in the profession to raise the bar. That's the only way the profession can gain the pride of place it has. Otherwise, and as for the pay question, Caleb, I agree with you. Bernard,
it's not even most of the times all about the pay. Sometimes it's even about the structure of the working conditions. Yeah. You understand? Because, for example, on holidays we work, on weekends we work. Do you get me? And sometimes as you grow, your priorities even begin to change. So you will come in as a young journalist, you are passionate about what you're doing, that's great. But you realize that you cannot always run on the passion for a very long time. If you're talking about the fact that then it's a knowledge-driven industry also, to be honest, Bernard, being able to leave the office and go and MC a program here and there is a privilege not many journalists will be able to have.
That's
true. Do you understand me? So if I come on TV, I'm doing reports for you.
Yeah.
Okay, people get to know me. I'm in the neighborhood. Oh, this guy's doing a good job on radio or on TV. They've seen you for 5 years. Every other time you close, you do the news, but you join us with the trotro and we all go home. Yes, you have an experience. You're able to tell a better story. But honestly, it doesn't trickle down. That's what I'm saying.
This is my response as a manager. The companies must become more flexible and amenable to the changing lifestyles of their staff. So, for example, what you can do at Radio Universe as a fresh university graduate is not the same when you are 29, you have a girlfriend, and you are 32, you are married. Yeah. So, smart organizations know that they have to change the way they organize their workspace to meet the living conditions of their staff in a way that makes them still do. So that's a management problem. Yeah. It's not a journalism problem. It's a company problem. So if the newspaper or the media house is not intelligent enough to know that these guys who started with me 5 years ago, their circumstances have changed. What ends up is that most of these people just move out because you are not making the workplace flexible enough. For example, a lot of workplaces now have places where you can take care of babies. Because they realize that lots of our staff are women who have kids. And therefore, you cannot run the place like a secondary school.
True.
So, if you are facing these problems, or if journalists are facing these problems, it means that the organizations they are working for are not evolving. So, the organizations will lose their excellence because they will keep losing their best resources. Do you understand? I don't want us to malign journalism. It is the business of media that's the problem.
Leadership.
And they are two separate things. Journalism is a profession. The business of media is not the same as journalism. The business of media tries to organize journalists to work for it. Do you understand?
I get you.
So at the core, myself and Goffey, we are journalists.
Yes.
First.
Yes.
I don't even like to be called general manager because I don't even understand what that is. I'm a journalist. I'm not a general manager. Okay? It just so happens that the industry is tough. So sometimes we do multitasking. Or is it tasking?
Yeah, tasking, yeah.
So, Godfred, the business of media is a field of steady people must study. But we have to insist that if you are a journalist, there are minimum requirements of you. Whether you're working for Chronicle,
True.
and you work and you are paid over the table, whatever. And this other thing, a lot of these media houses, because they haven't evolved, they've died out.
True.
So a lot of newspaper companies are struggling because their best people have to leave, because at some point they cannot keep taking those small tabletop things. They will move out. The challenge for Ghana is that our journalists work in media houses, and if our media houses are not viable, we will lose all our journalists. That's the real issue. Okay, and we've seen it over the years. I've done this for 20 years. I've seen it. Keeping high capacity journalists working purely as journalists is very, very tough. If they don't find spaces to lecture, to write, you get it?
Yeah.
They'll all just leave.
Yeah.
And then what happens? The public space suffers. Now, my argument is that the Ghanaian society itself doesn't value journalism, because if the quality of public discourse is lower, the quality of public policy suffers. And if the quality of public policy suffers, the quality of public life suffers. So it's public discourse, public policy, public life. Do you get my point? So a society that values advancement of public life must value public discourse. And public discourse is not for eloquent spinners. It's for well-educated, thoughtful citizens. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
I think the Ghanaian society itself does not value that.
Yeah.
The Ghanaian society itself does not value rigorous public discourse. I don't even think Ghanaians like the truth. They don't even want the truth. They don't. They claim to do. They want to be tickled. They will send you a text message to complain about this or that or the other. Yeah. But they don't really value the work of the journalist. They prefer other professions because they are more prestigious. And I say, if you don't raise the platform of public discourse, you don't have a chance. You know why? Because half of the problems you discuss on this show are behavioral problems of the citizen. Yeah. Bad governance, poor citizenship. Yeah. If you don't find a way of getting people, musicians, journalists, to keep speaking to the people what they need to do, you can't change the society. The home, the school, the public space. Those three places all are taken over. So your citizens are not driving your development. And you still think it's about spending dollars on building things. A lot of these guys here, even to work here, look at how I have to convince people around you to keep you working here. Ask me if I'm not lying. A lot of times I try this journalism thing some way. Everybody's like, oh no.
All the time.
Everybody wants to settle work.
But so when are you going? When are you moving?
But you see, my brother, the society you want to build. Look at Ghana today. Look at your students. Look at the average secondary school student's mindset. Are you telling me that you don't have a platform to try and shape that mindset? Look at your average university student and what they are looking for. Look at your average 20-year-old. Are you telling me that there is no social need for good journalism, good public discussion around the things they do? Because the religious bodies have lost it. They are not teaching the people the right thing. The schools have lost it. If the journalism also loses it, then society has no hope. Do you understand? And somebody has to think about that. If you don't believe, Caleb, you're talking about street lights and things. Everything you discuss at the end of the day, citizens are at the center of the malaise because they become politicians, they become corrupt. Are you telling me that it's only the home that will train that? Is there not a space for this type of thing in national development?
There is.
How come everybody thinks somebody else should do it and nobody should do it because it doesn't pay well? Who should do it? Who should do it? That's the question. Everybody wants to do a settled job, to be driving a nice car and not to dirty their hands, and yet they want to build a country. How do you build a country like that? You don't build a country by everybody being comfortable. Somebody has to pay the price. So yes, we will pay you well, but you also have to pay the price. Yeah. And the price is increase your knowledge base and work hard. That's the way it works. Otherwise, we are all going to just leave Ghana and go to US and go and be working in cold rooms.
I want to get it.
Send that message to someone.
It landed somewhere.
The person is not listening. Let me read messages, Bernard.
How can the whole just leave Ghana and be cutting meat?
Bernard, it's okay.
I want to give a slight. I think I'm a bit more new in this profession than you guys. So I want to give a perspective. I think when you start, there's this idea about what you are going to do. You are going to be on TV, you are going to be on radio, it's glamorous. I think a lot
What
of
if you are writing for a newspaper?
No, I'm just giving an idea. I'm just talking. I don't think people realize how hard some of the work is. What you have to do to get a story through and stuff. The first time I had to go and do a TV story, I thought that you just go and film, and then they just put it. Do you get what I'm saying? I didn't know what had to go into. It's part of it, and I think when people come in and then the hard work starts, they are going to feel somewhere about it, especially when it's not paid well. I think that's a lot of jobs, because I think when you're from the outside looking in, things look easy. They think that, oh, you just come on radio and talk and do what you want. There's no like, do you get what I'm saying? I think sometimes that's part of it. And to what Caleb said about the national security threat, I think it more speaks to the power we have as journalists. That if we see something that's wrong, if we talk about it, we can get people to notice. We can actually make a difference. And that's what it means, that if someone is not in a situation where they feel they can say no to certain offers, they feel they can have their integrity. Because if you, like Caleb said, your rent is due and someone makes you an offer, you found some scandal, he makes you some offer, you are thinking about your rent. You are thinking,
or even the person, you are pursuing a story that's in the interest of the people, and the people threaten you small. Do you understand me? That's what I'm saying. So we need to put the profession at a place where, beyond the sacrifice people are putting in it, beyond the pride that we also have, that our work is changing people's lives and bringing, transformation to the society. After all is done, when I go home, I exactly. I mean, look, Bernard, I was telling you that some of the people who have been appointed today into this government are my mates. And I was telling some of my friends that the cars they drove to work are Samense's car. Is Samense's car. Yeah. And I'm painting this picture to show that, look, the people who are into whatever are not there because they're better than we are. Yeah. We are mates. And most of the people are also your mates too. Yeah. Do you understand? I'm saying that to be here on the CBS, to do what I do, to get Galamsey to do, to edit videos to people, documentaries, it is a privilege, Bernard. It's a privilege. Yeah. A lot of media people, my level, when we compare ourselves to our peers who are doing other things, not spending as much time as they do, not expending as much and applying themselves. Listen, people love their job. People are sacrificing and make it worthwhile. That's all we are saying.
How long have you been doing this?
Bernard, I did Radio Universe 4 years. I've been here this almost my 10th year. I came here in 2016. So yeah.
9 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
So a lot of your mates, apart from the ones in politics, most of your mates are where?
No, people are in diplomacy. Some are lecturing. A lot of people are
academia.
Yes.
Banks.
So after 10, so if you do journalism for 10 years and your peers who go to do maybe something else do 10 years, when you look at the records, Bernard, it's not a lack of hard work.
Take your time.
No,
when you look at what are you comparing? I want to know what you are comparing with.
Standards of living.
Exactly. It's not too much. People are not even asking for so much.
So do you
more.
think you have a lower standard of living than your mates who finished school 10 years ago?
Let me give you an example. When I bought this MacBook,
yes,
I told my friend, I bought a MacBook. She said, hey, how did you buy it? I said, I feel insulted. So I'm sorry. It's not like anything.
The person was asking how you bought it.
I'm telling you.
Oh, but because they know that's their mindset.
Because in their minds, journalists are not paid well enough. But that is the truth for many people.
But you bought a laptop.
Yes.
Did you borrow money to buy it?
I didn't use my salary though.
Yeah, but you bought it.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
But is your salary your only source of income?
Oh no.
But
so question, what do you want?
I want a good life. I want a life that's good. Because the other point is that as journalists,
no, what you have.
No, that's not the point. Because but now you see, the other point is that
what you have.
No, it's not like we are not content. We are very content. We are just not satisfied with little.
Yes.
And the point is that every day you send journalists to go interview people, they are producers, they enter spaces, they see what is possible and how comfortable life can be
for some people.
Yes, in their minds they are like, okay, I may not be here, but this is possible.
But
and then they also
maybe we are sending you to the wrong places, because we can also send you to places where you see people who don't have anything, and you're also supposed to do a story on them.
I've been working on Accra Bola for more than 3 years.
So I'm just saying,
I know that.
Put that in perspective.
And I'm also saying that I also know that if I put all my talent and ability and my energies to work at a different venture, that may still be social good, but not journalism. I may be better off. If that is the reality, if that is the reality, we must meet each other halfway.
We have to be careful that we don't lose your drive, because we may think that So you're saying that if we don't take care, we'll lose you.
Oh, Bernard.
As a profession, and you go and do PR, or you go and do law, or you go and do diplomacy, or you go and do politics, or you go and lecture.
Let me finish.
Why are all our people in politics?
I want to just finish.
Only few are in politics.
Our people?
Most of them are actually teaching. Politics, you see, we only highlight the few successful ones. So most of our mates are actually in academia and doing stuff like that. Let's read some comments.
I just want to finish what I was saying. So just finish before I go. Yeah. Like Bernard, I understand all the things you're saying, but I think there's the underlying assumption that a lot of people understand that this job is a social good. I feel like a lot of people are not doing this job for social good, and that's where your arguments falls apart to me.
Okay.
Because if most people put in their head, we are come to change the country, I come to do something, they will think about it differently. But people are come to do this job, oh, I'm on TV, oh, I'm going to do this, oh, I'm going to make money.
Is that my fault? If you see,
I'm not saying it's your fault, but I'm just saying that
if you have a wrong concept of what the profession is it because we the people in it are painting it wrongly, or the person coming has a wrong assumption about it?
No, that one I'm not saying that it's your fault. I'm just saying that the assumption starting that when people enter, there's social good and stuff. That's the first. I think there's a lot of jobs like that. It's the same where we talk about even doctors and nurses. A lot of people want to be doctors. They are thinking about their money. They're not thinking about, oh, I want to help people, I want to do this. And I'm not saying it because I have a problem. Like a lot of jobs, they don't think about this.
Which is
lawyers and there's the lawyers you complain about is the same thing.
So maybe our educational system and our family is missing a trick, because I think the way what you highlight in the home and what you highlight at school determines how they see. For example, in your house, scholarship is admired, right? So you grew up valuing academia. So if you took an average paying job in a university teaching, your parents will still be proud of you, and you know you've done a great job, even though you may not be paid that well. So what I'm saying is that sometimes the perception people have about whether journalism is a sacrificial job or not, or whatever, is because of the way they were trained and oriented. There's also a generation that believes that because the older generations have failed us, we have to make ends meet.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That is legitimate, but that is not everything.
Yeah.
Because making ends meet can also happen whilst you also create social good.
Yeah.
If you come into a profession with the wrong mindset that this is my path to riches, that one is wrong. And we cannot be blamed if your expectations are not met. Because that's not the purpose of the profession.
But I'm just saying that a lot of jobs and a lot of young people, I don't think a lot of young people are concerned about society like that. I think that's something a lot of people get when they are older. Some people have it when they are young. But I feel like a lot of people, they just want to enjoy life. And maybe when it's later, like, hey, this society is not where it should be, and they get that idea. So I feel like this happens for a lot of jobs. I think journalism is one. I think because of the visibility, because you see all these journalists as you are growing up on TV, your parents are watching the news, they are doing here, thinking, hey, everybody will know me one day, that kind of thing. That's why some people enter journalism. They don't think about what the person is actually doing. And I'm not just saying it to say that to say that it doesn't mean, but you get what I'm saying. So for that, I just feel like sometimes you also have to consider the fact that a lot of people are not doing jobs for quote unquote the right reasons. Correct. Which is why they can get into a job and become easily disillusioned, and then they realize that, oh, I have all access to all these politicians.
Then they start.
I can help them cover up stories. I can help them do this, and I can get that standard of living I was looking for in the end. So I think just making it more apparent that some jobs, there's a lot of sacrifice, there's a lot of hard work, and there's not as much glamour as you think.
And also paying people better.
Yeah.
100%. I'll take a short break. I'm coming to talk about money with affiliate savings and loans. So when I'm done with them,